Hey guys, this is Matt Brunet, and welcome to Movie News Weekly, hosted by FilmBook. Now before we begin, let's take a look at what we got in this week's news, which includes Deadpool is proven to be better than a god, the champions of this year's Razzies, the man who will be protecting Anastasia Steele, Chucky might be going to Cape Town, Disney managed to get Ava DuVernay, the guy who wrote Daredevil will be handling some Jaegers, the man who will be the next Bert, October is the new Black History Month, James Mangold has a whale of a tale or two, and the champions of this year's Oscars. So with that said, let's get things started. Wow, the internet is right. Deadpool is mightier than the gods. For the third week in a row, Deadpool stays in first place during the box office weekend with a total of about $31.5 million. This even surpasses the new and controversial Gods of Egypt, which started out in second place with $14 million. However, the other new films this week, Eddie the Eagle and 999, didn't start out well by going in 5th and 6th place with about $6.3 million and more than $6 million respectively. Ahead of them includes Kung Fu Panda 3, which made it into 3rd place with $9 million, and Risen behind it with $7 million. Following behind the rest are How to Be Single with more than $5 million, and The Witch with about $5 million. Now that we celebrated some of the best, it's time to also celebrate some of the worst in last year's movies. The big losers of this year's Razzie Awards is actually a tie between 50 Shades of Grey and Fantastic Four. 50 Shades has to share the Worst Picture title with Fan Four Stick, but it also won for Worst Actor for James Dornan, Worst Actress for Dakota Johnson, and Worst Screen Combo for the two leads. As for the failed Marvel movie, it also won for Worst Remake, Ripoff, or Sequel, and Worst Director for Josh Trank. Other losers this year includes Eddie Redmayne for Worst Supporting Actor in Jupiter Ascending, Kaylee Cuoco for Worst Supporting Actress in Alvin and the Chipmunks Road Trip and The Wedding Ringer, Paul Blart Mall Cop 2 for Worst Screenplay, and Sylvester Stallone received the Redeemer Award for Creed. After hearing the news about the Razzies, maybe it would seem a little too awkward discussing about the sequel of 50 Shades of Grey. So instead, let's talk about the third installment. Brant Daugherty has signed on to play as Sawyer in 50 Shades Freed. His character will be like a personal bodyguard to Anastasia Steele, who will still be played by Dakota Johnson. Daugherty will be joining the cast that includes Kim Basinger, Eric Johnson, Ariel Campbell, Luke Grimes, Rita Ora, and of course, Jamie Dornan as Christian Grey. The movie will be directed by James Foley, and Universal set the third film to be released on February 9th, 2018. Even after all the crap he's been through, Chucky still wants to play. On Twitter, the creator of the franchise, Don Mancini, publicly asked Jennifer Tilly if Cape Town would be an ideal place to go film the 7th installment of Child's Play, all in capital letters for some reason. Outside of this tweet, there have been no confirmation nor anything mentioned that Mancini is thinking about making a 7th film with the cursed doll. Nowadays known as a horror icon, his later films would lean more into comedy, but he went straight back into his horror roots with his latest film, Curse of Chucky. We'll just have to wait and see if we can get more info on the 7th Chucky film. She had a choice of either going with this or DreamWorks' Intelligent Life, but it looks like we know which one will go first. Ava DuVernay has signed on with Disney to direct A Wrinkle in Time, based on the 1963 fantasy novel by Madeleine L'Engle, and the script has already been done by Frozen writer and co-director Jennifer Lee. The movie will be about a young girl who has to find her father by being transported into the 5th dimension with strange new planets. Not only will DuVernay be busy with this film and Intelligent Life, but she is also in talks to work on a film that features Oscar winner Lupita Nyong'o. So it seems that Pacific 2 might actually be a thing. However, it won't be with the original big head of the movie. Instead of having Guillermo del Toro be in charge of the anticipated sequel, Legendary Pictures is bringing in a first-time director, being the executive producer and writer of the Netflix series Daredevil, Stephen S. DeKnight. Despite not directing it, Del Toro will still be a part of the project as a producer with Mary Parent, Thomas Tull, and John Jasny. It is also noted that Charlie Hunnam, Idris Elba, Rinko Kikuchi, Charlie Day, and Robert Kaczynski will be reprising their roles. The movie was originally set to be released next year, but Legendary Pictures pulled it out of its schedule, and it is currently unknown when the movie will have a set release date. Last time, I talked about how Emily Blunt could reunite with her crew from Into the Woods to play as Mary Poppins in the upcoming sequel. However, a new cast member could be joining in as well. Lin-Manuel Miranda, creator and star of the Grammy Award-winning Broadway hit Hamilton, is now in talks with Disney to join Blunt in the sequel to Mary Poppins. He will be playing a new character as a lamplighter named Jack, who is said to have the same characteristics as Bert in the original. Miranda is currently working at Disney, composing the music for the upcoming animated film Moana. The new songs and score will be written by Mark Scheinman and Scott Whitman, and one of the songwriters of the original, Richard Sherman, is supportive of the project. After the historically giant deal Fox made at Sundance for $17.5 million, the movie is already up and ready with a release date. Fox Searchlight has set Nate Parker's Birth of a Nation with a release date of October 7th of this year. What is significant about this release date is that many film journalists are already speculating that this will be a big contender in next year's award season. Birth of a Nation has received several awards during its time in Sundance, like the film festival's Grand Jury Prize and the Audience Award for a US drama. Again, Birth of a Nation will be hitting big in theaters on October 7th. After taking some action with Wolverine, he will be moving on to go beneath the seas. James Mangold has signed on with Disney in order to direct Captain Nemo. Instead of being an adaptation of Jules Verne's 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, it will only be loosely adapted by focusing on the book's anti-hero. This will not be the first time that Disney will be looking into the book, as they already made an adaptation back in 1954 starring Kirk Douglas, Paul Lucas, and James Mason as Captain Nemo. Mangold's next film will be an untitled Wolverine movie that will be released in March 2017. And now, the moment that we've all been waiting for all year long. The movie awards of all movie awards, the 88th Annual Academy Awards. As host Chris Rock throws some jokes here and there regarding the diversity controversy, Mad Max Fury Road walked away with the most Oscars this year with a total of 6 wins, including Best Sound Editing, Best Sound Mixing, Best Makeup and Hairstyling, Best Costume Design, Best Film Editing, and Best Production Design. The Revenant was another one that walked away with 3 big ones, including Best Cinematography, Best Director for Alejandro G. Iñárritu, and Best Actor for Leonardo DiCaprio. However, the biggest shocker of the night was actually Spotlight, who, despite its only other win is Best Original Screenplay, won the big award for Best Picture. Other winners this year includes Brie Larson for Best Actress in Room, Mark Rylance for Best Supporting Actor in Bridge of Spies, Alicia Vikander for Best Supporting Actress in The Danish Girl, The Big Short, Son of Saul, Amy, A Girl in the River, The Price of Forgiveness, Inside Out, Bear Story, Stutterer, The Hateful Eight, Spectre, and Ex Machina. And that's all I've got for this week. Thank you guys so much for watching, and don't forget to head on down to film-book.com for all the latest movie and TV news, along with their columns on the box office and their theatrical release schedule. Also, you can follow them on whatever social media you'd like. And while you're at it, you can follow me on my YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter if you're more into stuff like animation, Disney, and my weird sense of humor. If you were watching this on YouTube, then hit that like button and come subscribe to us, and also leave a little comment on what you think on the news this week. If you were listening to this on a podcast on iTunes or any other podcast service, then don't forget to rate and review what you just heard. Tune in next time for another round of Movie News Weekly, and until next week, see you later, dudes!